Hi guys, welcome to my podcast. My name is Nicole and I am the brains and the beauty behind Yarn Craft by Nicole. My featured make this week is this lovely linen stitch scarf. I used a self-striping yarn. I'll just go ahead and show you so you can see it stretched out a little bit. You saw it on my video if you watched it last week. I had just finished this scarf. And I used it with one skein of Knitterly Things Hail to the Victors colorway. And it's a self-striping yarn. I just picked a width that I liked and did a linen stitch and went until I ran out of yarn, and then I just seamed it together after blocking. And I'm a fan of this. And like, it's even cute spread out like this. I might just wear it like this the rest of the podcast. I started this when we were in Rome, and I thought that I would have it finished by the first Michigan football game. I did not, but that's okay. It is ready for me to wear to this week's football game, which I'll be going to, and I'm very excited about that. So I thought I would show it off this week. And it's just so pretty, and it was a ridiculously easy project to do because the yarn does the hard work for you. There was no keeping track of how many rows of one color or another one that you needed to do. I just let the yarn do the self-striping, and I really like it. It came out well. I'm a fan. And I like this too because since it's a sock weight yarn, I can wear this now when it's still pretty warm, but I'll also be able to wear it like over a sweatshirt or some other things as the weather starts to get a little bit cooler. It's almost scarf season here in Michigan. So this is my feature make. There isn't a pattern written up for this, but again, I just picked a width that I was comfortable with for the scarf and then just did the linen stitch over and over again. It was a nice mindless project. I don't have anything finished for you this week. However, I do have the same two projects that I showed you last week, or really just one project that I showed you last week and one that I've actually started this week that I was going to start by last week. So I'll go ahead and show you the baby blanket first. It's coming along really cute. So I finished the brown and green rows that are two-toned Tunisian together. I think this is my last row. Yeah, this is the last row that I'm gonna do of just brown, and then I'm gonna add in some white like I did down here. Finish it with white, and then I'll do a border around the whole thing. And I really like this project a lot. I've talked to y'all before about how just cozy and happy and just snuggly this blanket is. So I'm excited to get this done. I have to only work on this project when I know that I've got a little bit more time because I waited too long to start a pattern test, and now I'm in the crunch time, but that's all right. I'm still gonna finish it in time. This does not have a name, this baby blanket. I'm just really going until I feel like it with the solid rows. So like the tan solid rows, I did 5 rows before I switched to the green. The green, I did 7, and then this I'm gonna do 6, just because I felt like it. But you could do whatever you wanted with two-tone. You could do the whole blanket in two-tone, and that would look really pretty too. I'm thinking that I might wanna do that. Like, I kinda like the idea of doing it as a sweater. But also like a throw would be really pretty. Like, I'm thinking black and white would look like houndstooth. That would be super cute. Or maybe like red and green for Christmas. That could happen. But this is just a play as I go blanket, which I'm enjoying. And this is for a friend of mine. It's kind of an oversized baby blanket. All right, this project was just yarn when you saw it last. Now it's yarn and stitches put together. This is the back panel of my Catalina cardigan that's gonna be for Violet Loops. I was very ambitious when I signed up for a lot of pattern tests right at the end of summer, thinking that I would have plenty of time for all of them. And once school started this year, I just, I don't have the crocheting time that I've had before. So that's why I haven't started anything new. I have a couple of other ideas for projects that I want to do, but I'm really not allowed to start them until after this pattern test is done. For the most part, either the pattern test or the blanket. But I really like it a lot. These are the yarns that I showed you last week from Barocco. They're their vintage DK line, which is a acrylic nylon and wool blend. So it does have the warmth of wool, but it's also a lot easier to care for than like a superwash or just a strictly wool blend. And I really like the contrast of this bottom color with the maroon, because I'm gonna go do the whole panel maroon except for like a little bit at the top. And the same with the two front panels. I'm gonna leave a little bit of gold at the top. And then I've decided that I think I wanna do some striping on the sleeve. So maybe a couple stripes here and here, almost looking a little bit like a varsity sweater is what I have in my brain. But I like the way that it's working up a lot. It uses the herringbone half double crochet, which has a lot of movement to it. It has a really pretty drape. I can't wait to see what this is gonna look like blocked. But I'm really excited about this. It's just gonna be a cozy, very fall sweater. And it has pockets in the front, but I think the pockets are also gonna be that tan color on the inside. So I'm really happy with this. I just have to continue to work on this, and because it's the same stitch over and over again, I kind of like bribe myself with, after I get through 10 rows of this, I'm allowed to play on the Tunisian blanket a little bit, or another project that I might start tonight, just for some variety. But yes, Catalina Cardigan. It's seamed together with two front panels, a back panel, and then you make the sleeves. The designer, Violet Loops, really wanted to make sleeves that were adjustable. So there's like a wider sleeve option and a narrower sleeve option, because sometimes like the whole garment will fit except for the sleeves. You just want to make sure everybody is comfortable. So I'm excited to start those. I think it'll be fun. And doing something a little bit different on each panel I think is going to keep me engaged, because it's been a while since I've made something in panels rather than making something that was a top-down garment or a bottom-up garment. So really enjoying that. Now, I'm gonna kind of combine Yarn Love with Can't Let It Go a little bit this week. So if you remember last week, I told you that I was gonna get to see Tony Lipsy of TL Yarn Crafts in person for a class that was in Detroit. It was at a little shop called Have You Any Wool, which is an adorable name. And I had an absolute blast. So I took the Tunisian Stitch Exploration class, I think is what it was called. So I'll show you the stitches that I learned, because I still have them right here. So at the bottom, we've got the knit stitch, which I've used a lot for headbands. And then that feeds right into the full stitch. I'm gonna hold it up so you can see it a little bit better. When I was first learning Tunisian, I definitely thought when I was doing the full stitch, I was doing the simple stitch. And so to me, it reminds me of when I got Tunisian really wrong. But so knit stitch, full stitch, and then this is the honeycomb stitch, which Tony said was one of her favorites. And I had tried it before and I just could not get it. Like I was off counting at either the front or the end, and I was just struggling really hardcore with it. So I was glad to see it in the class, and I got it pretty quickly once I saw it in person. So I'm really pleased with being able to do the honeycomb stitch. And then my favorite stitch of the day was what we ended on, and this is the arrowhead stitch. There's at least one designer, Janine Mudge, also known as Capital Crochet on Insta. She's doing an infinity scarf with this stitch. And I think I'm going to do something kind of similar. I have a really pretty hand-dyed skein of yarn that's a one-of-a-kind yarn. It was like not a mistake, but it was a yarn that was dyed for Winnie Jo Fiber Co. that she dyed for her honeymoon collection. And it just didn't turn out quite the way she thought. And so I bought one of those skeins, and I knew that I wanted to do something kind of meshy and open with that. And I think this is the stitch that I'll use, is the arrowhead stitch, because it's really fun, and I've never done anything like that before. So I enjoyed the class a lot. It was a pretty small class. There were 10 of us that were there, and it had a lot of knitters. So it was an experience to try to figure out, okay, well, how would you explain this to someone who predominantly knits? And it was a joy. Tony's great in person. She's a very patient teacher, a very clear teacher. She knows the words to use when she's talking predominantly to knitters, as well as how to make sure everybody's on the same page together. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. I think she's going to be doing some other classes too in like the Midwest area. So if you haven't checked out her blog, you should, so that you can take one of her classes, because they were great. So that is my, that's my Tunisian sampler setup. I'll probably take this out, but I wanted to be able to show you these stitches, as well as the fact that like doing all of these together, you're able to see pretty clearly like, oh, the honeycomb draws up a lot. It shrinks up more than like the full stitch and the knit stitch. So if I was going to combine stitches together, that would be something that I would need to take into account of how that's going to draw up or shrink. But I really enjoyed the class and got a new hook, which is nice because I only had one cabled Tunisian hook and my other one was straight, and it's just heavy when you do it that often. So that's my can't let it go, is that I got to meet Tony Lipsy, and she knew who I was because I had made the garden party shawl that I showed you last week, and I wore that to go to the class, and so she knew who I was, and that just thrilled me to pieces. And we got a selfie, like a little picture together, just over the moon. Had a great time. But because I was in a yarn store, I mean, it would have been irresponsible to not buy yarn. And so I did. I found the most adorable set of minis. So these are from Blue Sky Fibers. I think that these are, let me just double check the composition. Worsted weight, 100% fine Highland wool. I've bought from Blue Sky Fibers before, and it was a wool cotton blend, so I just wanted to check what I had bought this time. But what I really like about this is that this is a cute bundle, and it has 21 mini hanks, and they're calling this bundle the Fire and Ice bundle, which I think is perfect looking at those colors together. But they also individually label the different mini hanks so that you know what color, what dye lot, as well as the yardage. If you wanted to break these apart, you didn't have to use just the band at the beginning to figure out what's in the hanks. And I like that because sometimes when I've bought minis in a hank and I do decide to use them for different projects, it can be hard to remember, like, where did I put the band, or where did I put the sheet that had the right names on it. But I love these, so I bought these. And then I bought from the same company, Blue Sky Fibers, this dark, kind of a charcoal color. They call it Midnight Sea. It's really pretty to go with it. And what I think I'm going to do is to create a granny square. I'm gonna decide if it's going to be a granny square or granny stripe, but a table runner for fall, because I think that just looks cute for fall. And I think like either doing like individual granny squares and then doing a border on each of these in the Midnight Sea, or doing granny stripe where I do a color and then maybe a row of that. I haven't quite decided yet, but I'm not allowed to start it anyway until I finish another project. So this is my yarn lib this week. Really excited to get to play with those once I get through some other stuff. I hope that you are having a great day today. I hope that your weekend ahead of you is full of things that bring you joy, and I will see you back next week. Bye, guys.